The Gladiator tanks represent the main battle tank used by the Primaris Space Marines. They are a more modern invention of the 41st millennium, and come with three major variations, and of course today we are covering the Gladiator Lancer, which has no artwork of it, so excuse just the model backgrounds for this video. And hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and welcome to another video. Today we're of course covering the Gladiator Lancer, the tank hunter of the Primaris lineup of tanks. So the Gladiator Lancer comes in at 160 points, and for that you get a slightly fragile tank profile. At movement 10 inches, it is at least quite fast. With only toughness 10, though, it isn't that much tougher than a Predator, and this extends further to the 3+ save and 12 wounds. It really is quite a fragile tank, all things considered. While it won't crumple to things like bolters, it will crumple quite quickly to things like dedicated anti-tank, and especially strength 10 weapons. In terms of weapons, it of course has two storm bolters that can be swapped for frag storms. The Storm Bolters come in at Rapid Fire 2, 24-inch range, 2 attacks that hit on 3s at Strength 4, AP 0, and Damage 1. Fairly standard, we see this on most Space Marine tanks. It's a nice little burst of anti-infantry fire, but not much more than that. If you prefer the closer range but higher shots of the Frag Storm, I totally get that. The Frag Storm comes in with Blast, 18-inch range, D6 attacks that hit on 3s at Strength 4, AP 0, and Damage 1. There is something to be said that the Fragstorm grenade launcher works better as a panic weapon, as if enemies are getting that close, this thing could be in serious danger of getting charged. Then, of course, the main event is the Lancer Laser Destroyer. This thing has heavy, so it does like to stand still if it has the opportunity. 72-inch range, 2 attacks that hit on 3s at Strength 14, AP 4, and Damage D6 plus 3. Now, all but the toughest of vehicles will get smoked by this thing quite efficiently. High damage numbers and high strength means that they can't rely on toughness, and of course AP4 is only really going to bounce off of invulnerable saves, or extremely high save combos. This thing is of course very, very solid. Then on top at the pintle you can mount a heavy stubber, Rapid Fire 3, 36-inch range, 3 attacks, hits on 3, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. Not much to write home about, but it is useful in case there's any hordes that start getting really close to this thing. Of course, it also has an Icarus rocket pod, which is anti-fly 2+, D3 attacks that hit on 3s at 24-inch range, strength 8, AP 1, and damage 2. Good for splatting a Space Marine or two, as well as also just helping against keeping infantry away from this thing, which it really doesn't want to be dealing with. Then, in terms of ability, it of course has Deadly Demise D3, befitting of a medium-sized tank, and then Aquilon Optics is its main ability, which each time this model is selected to shoot, can reroll 1 hit roll, wound roll, and damage roll. This is of course super useful and will usually mean you're converting all of your attacks to saves. And of course, if you already did that, it gives you a very solid chance of doing a much larger amount of damage. This is a super powerful ability, though it does have some slight overlap with Oath of Moment. I don't think that's the end of the world, just given the fact that it also affects wounds and damage rolls. It's overall one of the best abilities in the game, and it pairs perfectly with the Lancer Laser Destroyer. Of course. Now, in terms of best use, the Lancer is a tank with a reputation of being a tank destroyer. Its weapon is super effective against anything, and anyone who knows what it does will always target it first. So it is important to give it an ample screen of other Space Marines, as well as trying to keep it in cover to try and make the most out of its rather mediocre defensive profile. For the massive 23% increase in points, this thing isn't that much tougher than a Predator, and in general will need some sort of things to keep it safe, as it also doesn't want to be wasting its time shooting at hordes if they get into melee with it. In terms of buffs, like most Space Marine things, it fits right in at home in the Gladius Task Force, mainly for the increased speed, though of course cranking out an extra AP on its auxiliary weapons is also useful, and also the extra AP on its Laser Destroyer will bring it to AP 5, which means without an invulnerable save you can't save against this thing. In terms of other detachments, of course Iron Storm is a rather horrific prospect. You could give this thing a 5+ sustained hits, which on the re-rolling main cannon, you really need to fear getting an extra save through, which could spell death for not only medium tanks, but also heavy tanks. Of course, this thing is rather foolproof to use. You'll just want to put it in a place where it's not going to get charged by chaff, and then keep plinking away at vehicles. As I mentioned, its cannon is effective against not only heavy tanks, but things like knights, even things like the big knights, Castellans or Knight Tyrants, depending on your persuasion. And things lighter than them, like, say, War Dogs, will get absolutely ripped apart by that Laser Destroyer. This is a great vehicle, and a good addition to any army. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.